there's extracurriculars involved when it comes to like, you know, what
They're
makes
like
it
the 10
college.
activities or whatever and stuff like that.
So I guess we can take turns, whichever one of you wants to start, and we just want to hear about which extracurriculars really helped, especially with, like, in regards to your major, what are extracurriculars helped with that a lot.
And generally, like, boosted your application, in your opinion.
Specifically in high school, I would say, like, stay within that window, but if there's other stuff that's really important.
I mean, if you guys were doing something crazy in, like, 7th grade, please tell us, but, you know.
Yeah. Insane. Yeah, I think what helped me a lot was I focused mainly on, like, the humanities or social sciences academically and dance, which is like my main passion. So that was like my artistic passion. So with dance, I like heavily honed into hip hop dance. It was like my niche in a sense, right? It's my main interest, and it's been my main interest since like 7 years, since I've been 7 years old. But with hip hop dance, I joined like a lot of dance teams. I did like there's like this team called Gravy Babies, and it's like really yeah, it's a very prominent hip hop team in SoCal, and that was the team that I did. I also did I was president of Mania Dance Crew, which is the hip hop crew of IA, and then I also won Young Arts, which is and I was a finalist, or they call it a winner with distinction now.
Yeah.
I was the winner with distinction in hip hop dance. I think that's what helped a lot because it showed colleges that like I was really passionate about this one art form, this one activity, this one niche.
How did you kind of integrate hip hop specifically, since you honed into it so much? How did you integrate that into like your essays or something? Like, how did that have any relationship with your choice of?
How did you integrate your art into your major and like the programs that you applied to?
How did I integrate my art into my major? Let me think about this. So I think a big reason why I also took an interest in international relations as a major academically was because international relations itself really talks a lot about like relations and connections, right? And hip hop dance specifically is really community based. Hip hop dance itself, it originated in the 1970s based on violence, and so the communities in the Bronx in New York, they were able to find peace and kind of solidarity through dance, and that's how hip hop was formed. So for like since the 1970s, hip hop dance itself has really been about community compared to like something like ballet, which started in like palaces, right? That was very like it's a very like high level art form. Hip hop has always been about the people, about connections, and so I think that was also really been deeply rooted into like my values and like the way I like move around in the world, I guess, as a human being. And I think that's also why I took an interest in like academics, like international relations. And so I guess with my essays, because I was involved with like community service and like the leadership and my awards and my activities, like every aspect of my application was like interlaced with hip hop dance. Most of my essays I talked about like hip hop. Yeah, if that answers your question.
And mostly, like, this is just kind of from my own research, but especially with extracurriculars, it's important to have that, like, not only volunteer hours, but also leadership positions, not only leadership positions, but also, like, awards showing that you're, like, very competitive.
Yeah.
And I think generally, like, within hip-hop, you kind of covered a lot of those bases, too, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I think, like, if you have a passion for something, you will naturally find ways to be involved with these different aspects.
Yeah, for sure.
Jen?
Yeah, so for me, if we're talking about my extracurriculars, I would like divide it into two main parts. It would be like art, like so like music and writing, and then my academics, which is mostly like environmental stuff and also like community service in there as well. So talking about my music stuff first, so I'm a very big cellist. I played since I was like 6, 7 years old, so it's been like a long time. So I've covered like a lot of national competitions. Like Eddie, I went to Young Arts, but he was the winner with distinction. I was just a winner. But I was like principal for like the nation's top youth orchestra, won grand prize at like an international competition. So in terms of cello, I really showed the colleges that I applied to that I'm like a really strong cellist. And I also turned in like an art portfolio with my application. So then I turned in a lot of my like music recordings. I think there were like 5 of them. And those recordings were the ones that I submitted to Young Arts as well. So it definitely showed that I was like really strong in the arts. I won some international competition and some national smaller competitions for writing as well. So I included that in my like awards section. And also my additional info section in my college application. And then moving on to my more academic extracurriculars, I was a founder and a president for this nonprofit organization called the Recycling Dictionary, which everybody here knows.
Whoa.
Whoa, tell us
Tell
more.
Recycling
Yeah, so
dictionaries.
it was basically just a nonprofit organization where we strive to educate people in terms of like recycling education. So that was in the format of workshops, a book, an app. I had more. I don't remember at the moment. But that was definitely one of the biggest things, extracurriculars that I did in high school. Other than that, I was really passionate about the environment. So I tried to cover different aspects of the environment because I was so involved within the environmental world. So with the recycling dictionary, I covered like the community service part of the environment. But then I also covered a little bit more academic stuff with my research paper, which was published in like a journal and everything. It was for like wastewater treatment, so it was also environmental related. I also did policy efforts where I interned with the city vice mayor and also Congresswoman Katie Porter. I was
Oh,
part of her
really?
youth like
She does
board.
ads on YouTube.
Yeah.
Campaign.
Oh, yeah.
I knew her through the YouTube ads. Um, and then one last thing about my environmental efforts, I connected it with my writing stuff.
Mhm.
So because I was in the creative writing conservatory at my school, I wrote a lot of different poems about like animals and like the ocean, like being in distress because of like environmental like stressors and stuff like that. And then I submitted those to like different writing competitions as well, like the Scholastic Writing Awards
Oh,
and stuff
yeah,
like that. So those are how I connected like my artistic passions with my main passion, which is the
Mhm.
environment.
Mhm.
I see. And I wonder, like,
Gorgeous.
what kind of role did like music ever play? Because I know you mentioned how you integrated like environmental science, which is your major,
Mm-hmm.
and like your passion for the environment into your writing. Did like music have any sort of role in regards to your applications, or in like, did you ever connect that to environmentalism at all?
I think it was a little bit harder for me to
Yeah.
connect music with the environment. I definitely did connect like those two in my essays for like my college supplemental essays. Like I know there was this one prompt in the Yale app
Mhm.
that asked like if you could teach a college course, what would it
Oh,
be?
yeah.
And then I connected something about like music and the environment.
Mhm.
But then in terms of like extracurriculars, I couldn't connect
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but then in terms of how music served in my application, colleges are always looking for more musicians because they have like these rankings for like orchestras and stuff like that. So I know that Stanford's on a big lookout for musicians. So they always like to take top musicians. So I just wanted to establish to the colleges that are reading my applications that I'm already a great musician, but on top of that, I'm already great in my big passion, which is the environment, which I think was really went in hand and then made my application stronger.
Do you plan on playing for Harvard's orchestra?
Yeah, it's called HRO, Harvard Radcliffe Orchestra. I mean, I have to try out and I have to get in
Mhm.
first before I can, but I'm definitely gonna try out. And I also want to do some chamber music stuff there too, like piano trios or string quartets.
Love that. And that was the plan all along. 7-year-old Jin decided to play the cello so that she could get into Harvard. So if you're a 7-year-old watching this, start playing the cello now. Or maybe the viola. Or maybe the viola. It's a little less
Viola's slightly
competitive.
easier, yeah. Or double bass.
Oh, whoa. Like this.
Anyway, I wanted to go back to Eddie for a second.
Mm.
What kind of academic extracurriculars did you have? Because
Oh,
I know
yeah.
we talked about your hip hop stuff.
UN.
Yeah. So basically, I was involved with this nonprofit, and I did some internships with them, like with like grant writing and stuff like that. And then because of that, they referred me to like their global affairs department. And so through that, I became a United Nations youth delegate of that NGO. And so basically, what happened was like over the summer, I represented them at some forums and some conferences at New York City at the UN headquarters.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. That was something big, and then I also interned for the mayor
Yeah.
of Irvine as well. Did some work with that. Um,
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Me too. I have an internship lined up where I am.
yeah. I think those are two main extracurriculars with my academics.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was also writing my application too, though, I think there's also a struggle between like connecting my passions for like dance and for like the humanities and like my activities with that. But I think there's enough space within the application where you can answer different prompts with like different parts of your application, and then through that they can see like a connection between your
Yeah.
interests.
I think what like YouTube bring to the table so well is that obviously for OSHA students this applies like a lot more, but I think a lot of students who are thinking about applying to college can easily think about like a hobby or like a passion of theirs that they like have loved since they were a kid, and then they think about like maybe a skill or a field or something that they're really like proficient at. Like that's a little bit more academic, and I think where you guys really excel is that you guys have both of those and did really really good jobs at like integrating them together.